Hello. Today we are discussing social disorganization theory. I chose to explore social disorganization theory because it offers a powerful way of understanding why certain neighborhoods experience more crime than others, not because of the people who live there, but because of the conditions they're living in. What really stands out to me about this theory is how it shifts our focus. Instead of blaming individuals or assuming that people are just born bad, it encourages us to ask deeper questions. What is happening in this environment that makes crime more likely? What's broken not in the person, but in the community? At its core, social disorganization theory says that crime is more common in areas where institutions are weak or disconnected. That includes schools, churches, community organizations, and even informal systems like neighborhood watch groups or simply knowing your neighbors. When these support systems are fragile or missing, especially for young people, it becomes much easier to fall through the cracks. Think about it. If you're growing up in a neighborhood where schools are underfunded, jobs are hard to find, buildings are falling apart, and people are constantly moving in and out, it's harder to build trust, to feel safe, or even see a path forward. These are the kinds of conditions this theory looks at, and they matter a lot. One of the things I really appreciate about this theory is that it gives us a way to talk about solutions that are actually meaningful. It shifts the question from what's wrong with these people to what's missing in their communities. That difference might sound small, but it has huge implications. It's the difference between punishment and prevention, between cycles of incarceration and opportunities for change. I've always been interested in approaches to social reform that address root causes instead of just dealing with the symptoms. I believe that when we look at crime through the lens of disorganization and deprivation, we're much more likely to come up with solutions that actually help, not just for the short term, but in a way that'll last. One of my favorite real world examples of this is the Violence Reduction Unit, or the VRU, in Scotland, specifically in the city of Glasgow. In the early 2000s, Glasgow had one of the highest rates of youth violence in all of Western Europe. The traditional policing wasn't working. Arrests were up, but so were crime rates. Instead of doubling down on punishment, the VRU did something different. They treated violence as a public health issue. What does that mean? It means they looked at violence the same way we might look at contagious disease. Instead of just isolating the symptoms, in this case, people committing crimes, they focused on stopping the spread by getting to the causes. They worked directly with schools to improve education and keep kids engaged. They created youth programs, job training, conflict resolution workshops, and mentorship opportunities. They built up the community rather than just cracking down on individuals. And it worked. Over the next decade, violence in Glasgow dropped significantly. Youth homicide rates were cut nearly in half. And it wasn't just the crime stats that improved. Community trust improved too. People felt safer, more supported, and more connected. This isn't just a success story, it's proof that social disorganization theory isn't just academic, it's practical. When you repair the environment, when you give people support, when you rebuild trust and opportunity, crime doesn't just go down, lives get better. Entire communities begin to thrive. I believe this theory matters because it challenges us to look beyond the surface, to ask ourselves, to imagine a world where we fix broken systems instead of just punishing broken people. And it shows us that real change doesn't start in jail cells, it starts in classrooms, in job centers, in neighborhoods where people feel seen, valued, and safe. In a time where a lot of conversations about crime are filled with fear, blame, or division, social disorganization theory brings us back to something more human: the idea that everyone deserves a community that works for them, not against them. And if we're serious about reducing crime, we need to be just as serious about rebuilding the environments where crime thrives. Because when we invest in communities, we don't just fight crime, we build futures. That's all for now. I hope you enjoyed our short conversation, and I would love to go into this in more depth later on. Bye bye.